Hi, and welcome back. We have uncovered so much in this short time together. Thank you again for sticking with me. What we are about to discover is one of the bread and butters to life. You master this, and your life will be everything you desire and more. Get ready to have your eyes opened to a whole new world. Reflecting back on all the previous discussions, I hope we both can agree that everything begins with a choice, right? We can choose to live our lives as mushrooms, or we can choose to live our lives as stars. We can strive and shoot to live them to their fullest potentials, or we can just settle, lay stagnant, and just watch them pass us by. The choice is ours. Our lives and how they turn out are ultimately in our own hands. So my question to you now is, why not make the absolute best out of it? Don't just be a star, be a radiant star in this life. To begin today's session, I thought I would start by sharing a short story with you. I think you'll like it. So if you want, grab a sip of water, take a deep breath, sit up straight, and give me your full attention as I tell you this story. There once was a grandfather and his grandson up in the Rocky Mountains. They both loved nature and enjoyed hiking, fishing, and camping together. The grandson loved his grandfather very much. Being with him was one of his favorite things to do. And one night, as they were sitting around the campfire, just talking, they heard the howl of a wolf. Ow! Frightened, the grandson looked behind him into the deep, dark forest. Trying to calm his fears, he began looking up into the clear, starry sky. Moments later, after he was feeling more calm, the grandson looked up at his grandfather and he asked, "Grandfather, why are there good and bad people in the world? Why are some so nice and happy, while others can be mean, sad, or hurtful?" The grandfather looked deeply into the boy's eyes and said, "Grandson, don't you know? There are two wolves inside us all. There's a good wolf and a bad wolf, constantly at war within us. The good wolf defends and fights back using love, peace, joy, hope, honesty, patience, forgiveness, empathy, selflessness, compassion, and humility to fight. The bad wolf, he's evil and uses anger, greed, selfishness, impatience, guilt, fear, hatred, dishonesty, arrogance, procrastination, and negativity to fight against the good wolf." The grandfather then paused for a moment and smiled at his grandson as he began to ask, "Do you know who wins the war in the end, my grandson?" The grandson scratched his head and thought for a moment. And as the grandson shrugged his shoulders, he said, "Maybe the one who's the strongest and the smartest. Who wins, grandfather?" The grandfather looked down at his grandson and gently placed his hand on his arm. Looking into his eyes, he replied, "The wolf who wins is the one you feed the most." Wow. What a powerful story. The wolf who wins is the one you feed the most. What can we learn from this grandfather and grandson? From this story, we can see it all begins with a choice. Our thinking, our emotional experience, our actions, and our expressions create our being, our state, and our existence. If you could live without suffering, if you could live a beautiful life, who would you have to be every moment? Who would you have to become? How would you have to feel, think, and act? What would it take? Like the grandfather said, there are only two wolves inside us all, a good one and a bad one. It is then our choice which we let win. Which wolf are you going to feed the most? Do you want to live your life in suffering, pain, and heartache? Or do you want to live each day happy, with love, peace, and joy? This question, it leads me to share with you a very important distinction. Human beings live their lives from only two states. That's right, only two states. To help you understand this better, let me ask you, what does state mean? State is best described as the condition or presence a person is in at a specific time. It's a state of being. It involves your thoughts, feelings, and actions. It's how you are in the present moment. You're either in a good state or a bad state. Just like the grandfather was talking about, you are either feeding the good wolf or the bad wolf. The greatest power anyone can have is the ability to look within at their state, see and feel how they are, and then make a conscious decision as how they wish to respond. So what are these two different states? Let's start with the first one. It's called a suffering state or a bad state. Just by hearing the words suffering state or bad state, what do you think has to happen? Or what does a person have to feel to be in this kind of state? Negative, right? A suffering state is a stressful one. When a person acts out of stress or negativity, they are coming from a suffering state. Things like jealousy, comparison, denial, disconnection, loneliness, hatred, aggression, anxiousness, worry, fear, addictiveness, obsessiveness, blame, greed, grief, laziness, anger, depression, lack of passion, isolation, and selfishness, self-pity are all kinds of suffering states. Has anything good ever came out of these in our lives? Do they make us feel good inside? Has anything lasted in our lives from acting out from these kinds of emotions? 9 times out of 10, the answer is no. Any emotion that is conflicting with nature or limits the experience for all is a suffering one. When and where we are most selfish is where we are not only hurting our own selves, but we're hurting others. Where do you think dis-ease comes from? Everything you say or do affects the quality of your life. Stress is a state of being, not a challenge. What if the challenges in our lives were actually good? What if they were actually opportunities to grow and to become a better human being? What if we had the power to control these kinds of emotions in our lives? And what if we had the power to end their control over our lives? What if stress was a good thing? The next type of state is called a beautiful state, or a good state. I was fortunate enough to visit India and learn from some of the greatest human beings in the world at a place called O&O Academy, where they teach and live this stuff every day. There's nothing more magnificent in the entire world than being in the presence of a person who is living from a beautiful state. A person who is coming from a beautiful state, or a good state, whichever you prefer to call it, is at peace, is harmonious, does not feel limited, doesn't feel stuck. They're creative, happy. They see opportunities, have faith, and have no fear. There's a sense of belonging, oneness inside of them. He or she, they don't attribute the feelings they feel inside to external factors. They feel love, excitement. They see good in all things. They have a sense of passion and oneness with everything. A life lived from a beautiful state is an extraordinary life. And guess what? The only thing stopping you from living this kind of life is a conscious awareness and a choice. You really are that close to having it. You just have to say yes. And don't get me wrong, no one is perfect. We all have triggers. There are, and there will be days and times when we fall short and we act out of a bad state. The key difference, however, between the people acting out of a suffering state or a good state is the one who stays and acts out of a suffering state the longest. The one who limits their time in a suffering state will have the more abundant, prosperous, and fulfilling life. Life is a process in itself. So this life, you have the power to suffer from it or not. That is a true gift. If you are lost in arrogance, you will miss intelligence. Suffering destroys, beauty builds. Every problem we have is because we're coming from a suffering state and have lack of wisdom. When we suffer, it is because life does not match the way we define ourselves. We suffer because we depend and expect the outside world to fill us up from within, which, in the end, is completely impossible. Why are you watching these videos again? Don't you think it's time for a new upgrade in your life? Don't you think it's time to live your life from a state of being that is full of love, liberation, and happiness? I believe you deserve that, and that is an absolute truth. So the question now is, how do you live from a beautiful state? First things first, you must first be able to recognize which state you are in. You must be able to recognize which state you're coming from. Whether it's when you're working at your job, talking to a friend, your spouse or your child, watching TV, eating food, whatever it is, you must know which state you are doing it in. Like we talked about in the second video, you must first become aware. Why do you think we were given 2 ears, 2 eyes, and only 1 mouth? If we are unaware, how do we expect to change anything? Awareness is where change all begins. And when we talk about others, when we gossip, do you think we're coming from a good or bad state? A person who lives in a beautiful state doesn't do that. A person who is in a beautiful state is secure. A person who's coming from a suffering one is insecure. People in beautiful states respond to life situations, rather react to them. We all have work to do inside, even the ones who aren't grieving. So why not start right now? The growing and the learning never stops, even if life has thrown us some pretty hard and painful stuff. If we want to inherit the kingdom of God, we must avoid living a life of impurity, lustful pleasure, idolatry, sorcery, hostility, quarreling, jealousy, outbursts of anger, selfish ambition, envy, and other things like this. The love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control is inside us all. We just need to uncover it and let it out. The passions and desires of a suffering nature is not the you know, or the one I know. If we live from our hearts, our souls, and our spirits, I promise, life will never be the same. We've been talking for a while now, so let's take a second and just shake our bodies out. Okay, now, sit or stand, but close your eyes and take 3 deep breaths. Put a gentle smile on your face. See the future as if it is already happening. See yourself living in a beautiful state. See your life filled with love and goodness. See and feel the beauty. Feel the peace. Now, out loud, silently say your name. You can do this. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. It's okay to make mistakes. You deserve to be happy. You can do this. Thank you. Thank you. When you're ready, you can open your eyes. Amazing job. What you just experienced is the power of state. For the time being, I'd like to share with you a tool that has impacted my life tremendously and has helped me to live in a beautiful state. I use it every day when suffering comes or I feel a disturbance inside. I call it PROD. P-R-O-D. PROD. It's an acronym that stands for the 4 steps: pause, recognize, observe, and dissolve. So let me explain it to you. First, when you feel that inner rush, that discomfort, that negativity, that impulsivity, you pause before you do anything else. P is for pause. After you pause, and before you speak or act, you take 3 to 5 breaths. You do this until the rush slows, your body begins to relax, and your mind begins to calm. After that, you take time to recognize. R is for recognize. This means take a second to discover which state you're coming from. Which state are you in at that very moment? A beautiful, good one, or a suffering, bad one? During that time, try to discover what you're feeling and what is causing the disturbance inside of you. Try to find why you're feeling the emotions you are feeling. And after that, you observe. You observe your thoughts. O is for observe. You see if your thoughts are coming from a past, present, or future tense, or from multiple time frames, the past and future, the present and future, or past and present. And when you've done this and discovered this truth, you take time to dissolve what is not true or serving you. D is for dissolve. This can be done as easy as blowing air out of your mouth. Visualizing a bright fire in the center of your forehead, burning it all away. Or putting yourself in God's perspective and asking yourself, how does God see my state right now? What would He do? What would He feel? Or simply just seeing all of it dissolve when you silently say to yourself, dissolve, 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 as you continue to take deep breaths. You're more than welcome to play with this and dissolve things in ways that work best for you. It's just 4 steps that can be done anywhere or anytime to get you out of a bad state and move you into a good one. As humans, we are unconsciously developing habits that serve and don't serve us. Unfortunately, this trains our brains to work in certain ways during certain situations. We go on autopilot and do things without even being aware we're doing them or why. Sometimes our habits are so strong, our brains respond automatically before we even have time to process what's going on. With prod, we can break this habit. So now that you know this, you can use this to retrain your brain, bring conscious attention and effort back into your life, and more importantly, change the way you respond to situations when life unfolds in front of you. You have a way to not only serve yourself, but a way to serve the entire whole for the greater good. I think to end this video, if you want, we should do prod together. Just to give you an example, and so you can have a feel for it. And honestly, I would love to take the time to guide you through it at least one time. And lastly, please remember, play with it until you find what works best for you. There's nothing worse than telling a lie than living one. Find what's right for you. The state of your life is the state you bring to it. The state of your life is your life. Why not make it a good one? So let us begin. First, pause. Sit up or stand up straight. Close your eyes and begin taking 3 or more conscious, deep breaths. Inhale through your nose, filling your stomach with air, and then slowly exhaling through your nose. Try to make your exhale at least twice as long as your inhale. Feel your body relax. See your mind slowing. Now ask yourself, which state am I in right now? A beautiful state or a suffering state? What emotions am I feeling right now? Do I feel anxious, worried, sad? Or do I feel calm, focused, happy, or peaceful? Are my shoulders tense or are they relaxed? What state am I in right now? What do you recognize? When you have it, take one deep breath and just observe your thoughts. What are they? Are they from the past, the present, the future? Or are they maybe coming from the past and the future? Where are your thoughts? Are they serving you? Or are they hurting you? When you found a thought or an emotion that isn't serving you, take this time now to dissolve it. Imagine a bright fire glowing at the center of your forehead, destroying them all. Or say to yourself, dissolve, dissolve, dissolve. Take a deep breath in. Relax. Feel the calmness of your mind. Put a gentle smile on your face. Keep smiling as you continue to breathe deep. And then, when you're ready, you can slowly open your eyes. Thank you. And I'll see you again soon.